Hello, it's Anastasia Thomas. Welcome to my channel, Interviews with Australian Entrepreneurs. Today I have a special guest, Divesh Sareen. He's going to share his story of entrepreneurship in Australia, his new book, his new event, and also what's next. Stay tuned. Hi Divesh, how are you today?
I'm good, Anastasia. How are you?
It's so great to have you here. I'm so excited about this conversation that's going to happen now. The first question I have to you. When I was researching on you, I discovered so many different things about you. You are a product and technology leader. You're a speaker. You're author. You're an entrepreneur. You've got so many different faces and qualifications and professions. I'm just trying to understand what is the real and core purpose behind all of it. Can you just tell us more about it?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me and taking the time out to interview me today. Um, I would say the core purpose of what I do is something that I find enjoyable, and I'm actually solving problems. So making a living doing that. So the product and technology part came from I had done a master's in IT. After that, it made sense to actually work into the IT side of it, build things. I discovered a bit of creative side for myself, and it was an amazing experience. I'm still doing it today, enjoying it as much as I was on day one. Probably more now because I know what I'm doing. So that's where I've been building up on. In terms of becoming an entrepreneur, that's been a journey in itself. I've had to change my mindset from moving from a regular 9 to 5 job that pays the bills to actually taking it towards taking more risk taking.
Yep.
Being able to develop that muscle of, okay, I'm going to have more expenses and not guaranteed income. Along with that, becoming an author, that happened. I'm not like a regular author who's been reading books all his life, but it again started from actually solving a problem where being a migrant, I was one of the lucky ones. If I came in 2008, if you would have asked me on the airport, write down everything you like to achieve,
Yep.
that was achieved about 7 years ago.
Wow.
So I was able to bring my mum, dad, brother here, being able to sponsor, make them part of the dream life I was lucky to have. So in a lot of ways, it was more than what I could have asked, like the young Diveshs wanted. After that, it was about share it to the next one that needs the help.
Yep.
Whether that person's sitting in any part of the world today struggling, and if they read it and they feel that I could do better or there's a possibility for me, and they could see what I've learned and use that. That's where it all started, along with sharing what a migrant goes through for people who are not a migrant.
Yep.
For example, in Australia,
Yep.
a lot of people would ask me,
Yep.
why do you leave your family, all your support network, and you come and go through all these challenges to rebuild yourself? All these answers,
Yep.
and what a migrant actually goes through when you belong to two countries. The hybrid that you become when you've been part of both cultures, both countries, is what led to me. Like it came to me and started bothering me in a way that someone needs to address it. I looked around, I did not see a lot of solutions, and again, the thing was, okay, if no one else is doing it, I'm going to give it a crack.
That's fantastic. Look, I can easily relate to that, being migrant myself. And you probably have the answer for our audience as well. In your opinion, what are the major challenges that every migrant is actually facing?
Number one is the feeling of belongingness.
Yes.
Am I Australian? Am I Indian? Or am I of this country?
Definitely.
Usually people just look up to me and be like, oh, he's the Indian guy.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm Australian by choice.
Mm-hmm.
I've chosen to be part of this country, and this country's given me a lot. But I think there has to be that part where we address that. But to cover your question, like, number one is that feeling of belongingness. Not having much of support system. So all your friends, family, everyone that you've grown up with,
Yep.
they're all gone when you move. And then I think just being able to be there for each other. But yeah, those are the top for me.
I think you're 100% right. I think it's a feeling of belonging, and I think it's also acceptance, like being accepted by the community here as well, and having that integration into the community, right? Understanding how community operates, but also being able to be yourself, to true to yourself, right? So I think for me as a being migrant, I can literally relate to what you're just saying. And basically, I guess once you integrate it into community, you kind of feel better about yourself. And also, I should mention, obviously, because of these challenges you went through, you are the founder of the website, Migrants Life as well. Congratulations. I actually checked that website. It looks amazing. It's very simple, it's clean, it's tidy. And for me as a migrant, I can easily read what it's all about. It's not overwhelming. So obviously you were inspired by your journey to create the website. Is it correct?
Kind of happened as a transition.
Yep.
So one of the things you initially mentioned that I do talks as a speaker. That happened voicing what I had written.
Yep.
That made me a speaker. The way Migrants Life happened was since writing my own book about a year and a half ago. You could see the gap where there's so many migrants here. People who go through a lot of struggles that are never noticed in a way, or they didn't have a voice. There wasn't a platform that does it. And at the same time, a few people reached out to me saying, if I'm not proficient with English, who's going to write my story? And after a while, you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give it a crack.
So basically, with your website, if I'm a migrant, if I come tomorrow to Australia, how can I utilize your website that will help me to feel better or help me with the challenges? Is it particular objective, specific objective of that website? And I know it's an app, comes with it as well, as a package of two. So can you tell us a bit more about objective of the website and functionality as well?
Definitely. So Migrants Life, as you said, is a website. Plus, it's an application as well. Yes. So you can download it on Google and from Google and Apple stores.
Perfect.
The good part of how it can help a new migrant is they can look up to people who've been on that journey, people who look like them, people who've gone through similar fields, challenges, and what they've done to overcome it. That's where they can take it as a source of inspiration, which was one of the main reasons to actually build it. That even if they're not here yet, they're thinking about coming. I mean, like, this person looks like me, or they're from my country that I am in right now. What did they go through, and what are my potential opportunities? Sure. So that's where I think it can be very helpful. There are a few new initiatives. So we've made Migrants Life a foundation now, and I'm hoping to share more news about it during this financial year.
Okay.
Where we'll be putting things in terms of making lives of migrants hopefully easier, I would say. A lot of things to assist them, that next migrants get what we didn't. And that feels like the best thing to do.
That's great. Like, if, for example, I just arrived to Australia and I want to submit the story of myself, like being a migrant, am I able to do that through your application as well, or not at this stage?
What we do is once every year we collect stories.
Yes.
Where we go out to the market and be like, hey, you can go ahead and make a submission. For new migrants, they might not be in a position to share both sides of the coin, I would say. But for existing migrants who've been in a couple of countries and can share perspectives of both, and mainly about how was their journey when they moved here, or anywhere, I should say, potentially. That's where it comes up more. And we are you can go on the website and register your interest today.
Awesome.
So that when they open, you'll be the first one to know. When we update, those were the first releases.
And I think it's free, isn't it, for the users? So it's a free of charge. They don't have to pay anything to submit.
For Migrants Life?
Yep.
The first one we did it out of cost, so we covered everything. This time we've covered the cost of printing, the cost of editing, the cost, so that we can scale it. So there will be a charge next time. I just don't know how much. We will look at the whole cost of the project, cost of a lot of things, and that's where that will be.
But I think they will benefit from the submissions as well, because obviously they can find the circle, the networking as well of people with the similar, challenges, and also can find new opportunities. I think it's a lot of future I can see future in this app, and I actually can see how it's going to flourish and just completely expand in Australia. So congratulations on this one. I know that just recently you had a huge event as well in Federation Square.
That's correct.
Yeah. So Bradley was a part of the event. Is it true?
That's correct.
Can you tell us more a little bit about that?
Oh yes, that was, I would say, more than a dream come true doing an event with Bradley.
Yeah.
He's someone I've seen when I was a kid in India growing up on TV.
Yeah.
And like, oh, this is Australia's fastest bowlers. I didn't like him at that time when he was getting all the Indian players out.
Yeah.
I liked him more this time. But even getting a photo with him was going to be such a big deal for someone like me. To be able to share the stage, him coming on board with my event and actually sharing his journey while he's been playing for Australia and integrating into different cultures while traveling, especially India. He's done a Bollywood movie. He spent 30 years back and forth. He spends about 4 or 5 months every year.
Oh, wow.
He speaks Hindi very fluently.
Wow.
A lot of words. Done a song in Hindi. So a lot of things and that was just amazing. Like everyone loved having him here, like on the event day.
So basically, for this event, how many people actually came over for that event? If you look in just the number of crowd,
about close to 200 people.
Wow, that's a big crowd.
Yeah, and for the event, I would say Brett was definitely one of the highlights. But a bigger highlight along with that was all the migrants that had actually submitted their stories. So we showcased 19 people's life story, where we did one page on each person's life, and we showcased it as an easy way they get to interview.
Yep.
Which is one of the main goals for us as a platform, to give them an opportunity to be able to voice their struggles. Hopefully create a piece of legacy that even the generations after that can look back at what they've gone through, and that stays for the life of it. Slowly.
I have a question to you. It's a bit of probably out of scope. How do you think the migrant, when they come here, if I'm a migrant, I come over to Australia tomorrow, how can I solve quickly the problem of feeling isolated, feeling not accepted, belong? Do you have any specific short recommendation to those migrants even it's a few sentences, just literally, if you put in dot points, what would you say to them?
Sure. Well, that's a question I think about a lot. So thanks for asking that. I would say as a new migrant to the country, the existing ones, first of all, have a responsibility to be there for them.
Yep.
So that if you see a person who's been new, offer the help that someone probably did to you and pay it forward. That's probably the number one way to make it easier for the next person. Like people like myself and a lot of others are putting initiatives in place where when a new person's coming, they try and reach towards the circle. Depending on what situation you're in, whether if you've come to a uni, try to get into the groups of other network.
Yep.
Try to go into things that are of interest to you. And you'll network with like-minded people at least.
Yep.
They might not be all from your country or your culture, but at least you can relate to them in the way of thinking. Those are the kind of things, but it's a problem that we can't solve straight away.
Yep.
It's such a big transition where you're probably still like recovering from the loss for your support network. You're thrown into the deep end challenge of you've got to earn money, you've got to find a job, you probably have a fee to pay if you're a student, you've got to get used to the culture. A lot of those things would happen with time. Someone like me personally, like I think about it a lot, and what I've tried to do is I've built a social platform just around it. It's called Migrant Circle.
Yep.
That's where the goal is that as a migrant, you can go in and post a question about a topic, and people in that area network would be able to help you answer that.
Divesh, I'm very, very excited for you because you actually released a book that's called Indian Mate. And honestly, being migrant myself, when I've seen this particular combination of two books, volume 1 and volume 2, I might just show that to the camera. This is actually, you actually cracked the code of all migrants, because this is actually a reflection on probably how every single migrant feels when they come to Australia or to US or any other country, because I can see that one part of you belongs to one land and the other part belongs to Australia, right? So this is really, I don't know how did you do that, but actually when I've seen that, I actually was nearly in tears because this is exactly how I feel. So Divesh, can you just share with us the inspiration behind of the book? Because I want to know what inspired you to actually all of a sudden wake up in the morning, all right, I'm going to write the story. Tell us more.
Um, sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the kind words. When I was writing the book, I set a goal of impacting at least one life. So it makes me so happy when someone says that they could relate to it. I feel my goal of writing the whole book was achieved. The book came out because a lot of things started bothering me. That as a migrant, I had gone through so many challenges of my own, and I could see a lot of migrants like me who had gone through that journey. But I could not see a lot of things that were out there covering that part. I looked around and I was hoping someone did it, but at the end of the day, I gave up. I must say, one of the lucky guys who, when he landed, everything I would have said was done. I was able to bring my mum, dad, family over. I've got such a great family, such a good support system, great friends who back me up in anything, any crazy idea I come up with, which is a lot of things you miss about your own country. My goal was to educate the locals what a migrant actually goes through. Say your student at the 7-Eleven or the Uber driver that you just met or anyone doing any other odd good job, even though they might be like a really smart person. They might have been a scientist or an IT or anyone in their own country. Why have they changed and molded to whatever they're doing today? What's the story behind it? And at the same time, voice what the migrant goes through and share the lessons that I've been lucky to have. People in India and Australia, what they've taught me, combine that and pay it forward, I would say.
So basically from Namaste to Hawaii.
Yes.
Your book is called The Indian Mate.
Yes.
You can't be more precise than that, right?
Yes.
The Indian Mate. Look, I always had this question, and a lot of people obviously asking you all the time, and I'm pretty sure yourself, where are you from, right? And sometimes I feel I don't know what to say. Obviously, I keep saying my origin, where I'm originally from, and then I moved to Australia. But the reality is, I think sometimes, as you mentioned, some challenges that the locals that don't understand the challenge, right? That you kind of feel both. You don't feel, say, Chinese or Indian or Russian or fully Australian because you didn't go to school here.
Yes.
Is it possible, in your opinion, to have that blend of both cultures and actually being able to, to work hard, to express yourself, to be entrepreneur? Because I want to give a chance to all entrepreneurs to feel that if they migrants, it doesn't mean that they're not capable. They're more than capable because they're bringing that culture to Australia, right? And this is a blend of both. So do you believe that that blend is possible, or you're always Indian or Australian, Russian or Australian? Just tell me more about it.
See, I think a lot of people will identify you and put you in the bucket.
Yes.
That's why, like, a lot of them would say, I am the Indian guy.
That's
That's
right.
why even the name, the
That's
Indian
right.
name, is there. The subtitle came from the word that I wanted to highlight how hard the journey is. So not everyone can say Namaste to Hawaii without stuttering. Like they would without stuttering, they can't say that. And that was to showcase how hard the journey is. In terms of a migrant, I think it already happens. The awareness part is a dream for me, but the migrant already happens. You have the good parts of your culture, the values, things that you've learned, maybe from your family, your friends, or people around you in the country that you've grown. And you come to a new country, you already go through the part of resilient, coming up with solutions, probably working on a fixed budget. A lot of those things, you mentioned the entrepreneurial leader side of it, they're transferable skills straight away. is the way I look at it. So I think an immigrant has a really good chance of being a great entrepreneur. They've already done a lot of those things into their life of submerging, making new relationships, growing their circle, just thinking about ideas, even applying for a job. How do you sell yourself in a country that you're not the best speaker of the language?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
a lot of these things I think already happen. The challenge is the acceptance part or the knowledge part of it, of what a migrant goes through, to be accepted as a person who lives in that country by choice, and to be considered as a part of it, not as an outsider.
Definitely. Why do I have tomorrow buy your books? Why do I have to buy them? Can you tell me in brief? If I go to the bookstore and I see these two beautiful
Yeah.
volumes on the shelf, why do I have to buy them?
You would want to buy them if you want to go on a journey. That's a roller coaster. So to give you an idea of volume one, volume one starts from the time of partition of India. It was the biggest migration of human history, which not a lot of people, I would say, in Australia would know about. What it was like when people lost their homes and they migrated to different parts, and how they built themselves up again. And then it moves to growing up in a middle class family, a young kid who's surrounded by all these problems in their life, but they really want to do better for themselves and their family. And they think about Australia as a place that they want to go to,
Yep.
because it's a developing country where even if they earn $1, that's 50 times that they could send back to their family, give them a better life, and even if that meant sacrificing their own. And a lot of the things covered in volume one are culture of India, and the steps that I personally took to get to Australia, to the point of there was one time where I was eating meal just 2 times a day. So we were able to save our money. And it got to the point of where my cousin, who has been a mentor for me, he got sick of it. It's like, no, we're solving this a better way. He paid my first uni fee
Wow.
from his business account without telling his dad, and arranged $1,000 for me to come here and start my life in Australia. So that's where the first volume of the book ends. So for someone who is wanting to experience that, go through what it looks like, is someone I would recommend. And coming to volume 2, I would recommend, if you want to read about what an international student goes through, like sometimes you're doing 4 to 5 jobs in your uni holidays. Then you try to make sure what's it like doing the assignments, making a circle, and then how do you find a good job in a corporate, and then moving towards the mindset of, okay, if I'm lucky to have this in my life, how can I help my family live a better and make them a part of it? What it's like meeting an Aussie girl from countryside on the train, and then getting to the point where you're telling your Indian parents to leave aside the idea of dowry, that I've already got a girl who I'm going to marry, and then my cousin coming over to make sure that I haven't lost my mind and approve the marriage. So it's a mix of a lot of cultural values. The second one is more focused around Australia and my journey of becoming an Australian citizen, and then being able to make my family a part of it. So I could talk about it all day, but that's the nutshell of how I would summarize this journey.
Yep.
From a migrant's perspective. If people would want to read it, I would say, yeah, definitely they should get it.
Awesome, thank you. I think it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're migrants, you can definitely grab those books and read them. And I think it's all about the journey, right? They take you on that path. You know, it's like you're watching a movie that takes you on the journey, right? It's the same with books, right? That you can actually keep, and it's like your rescue, you know, like you're trying to survive, right? It's like, let me read the book and feel better. And the last question about migration I want to ask. It's a little bit tricky question, and I want you to be honest with that question, with that answer. Do you think that we're actually all migrants? All people in this world, we are all migrants, in a way. We're all from somewhere.
I think if you're talking from a mindset perspective, there is always that question about feeling of belongingness, depending on your personality, depending on what you align with. You could say that that you don't feel you belong. I wouldn't say migrants exactly, not everyone is, because I would say the definition of that is if you're like part of multiple countries or if you move from one place to the other. But yeah, in terms of the belongingness part, I definitely think that's a very big challenge. But at the same time, you relate to people who you think are part of your tribe. So that's probably
choose your tribe, choose your company, right?
That's correct.
Choose, and it doesn't matter where they're from. Australians, Indian, China, Russia. We all, if you find your right circle, that's what you need to look for.
That's
in
correct.
the end
And
of the day,
it doesn't have to be people who are from your country or who you've known or who have your cultural values. It can be just someone who, based on your interests, like I said before,
True.
if you move to a new place, say if you have interest in music,
yeah,
you go into those groups. There could be people from
Anywhere.
I think that's your strength. Say people from Russia would teach you something that they've learned their way. People from India would teach you something. People from China would teach you something else. And you combine that, and that's where diversity brings the strength.
Absolutely, I agree, 100%. So where can we buy these two books?
There's a few options. You can technically buy it everywhere. Online, Amazon, all the online places you would buy a book from. Apple, everywhere. Your local bookstores. The Indian-made website is where if you order, we send you a signed copy. It's www.theindianmade.com. That's in Australia. For other countries, you have to order it through Amazon.
All right, Divesh, we talked about your journey, your passion, and we shouldn't forget that you're actually an entrepreneur now. You've done so much, and you released the program so-called After the Why. So can you just tell me more about your program? Because I'm pretty sure we've got a lot of startups and corporates in Australia who would need your help and your assistance on that. Please tell us.
Sure. The reason I came up with After the Why was a lot of times I felt that people found their why, but they did not know what to do with it. They did not have the means and the resources to do the what and how. So I'm from a technology background, and going down the entrepreneurial side of things, after being head of technology for app making business, I decided that I'm going to help people deliver their why. I'm a founder myself. I've built startups. I've helped people from a technology and a product side of it. I've done consulting, and that's what After the Why does. We understand what it's like to have a baby in a startup, where someone needs to take care of it from the same way so it can be nurtured to a founder's expectation. A lot of founders in Australia need someone with that technical and product mindset that can hold their hand and help their dream bring it to reality.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that's where I came up with the idea, and the name in itself speaks for it. With anything you need, after you found your why, we'll come and take care of the rest for you. And After the Why caters for everything from a product and technology point of view that a founder could ask for.
Fantastic. And look, put it this way, there are a lot of competitors on the market at the moment doing similar services because, as you know, this world is technology driven. We have a lot of agencies, product developers, web developers, designers. How would you say the major what's your competitive edge? What is different to your competition you do?
See, I feel a lot of agencies, they do a lot of volume work. It's like a production line.
Yes.
In terms of the way we work, it's nurturing, like it's our own startup, and customizing the solution, where a lot of times we would even go back to founders and share what we have learned. When you're going with an agency, I would say you're not dealing with someone who's been a CTO for an app making business. It's someone who's probably just gone through the production line and be like, okay, there's your app. All those little details that someone you can confidentially discuss things with and would give you an advice based on their experience. I have the experience of working from corporates to small to medium organizations that I can bring to the table. And a lot of times we try to help people network within people who they can connect with as well, which I don't think a lot of agencies would do.
Okay, so it's all about personalization, have that customization feel. And also, how can the new startups or corporates reach out? Either through your website or normally they can just give you a call and say, hi, I need some help, what's the best way to contact you?
The best way is through the website.
Through the website?
So it's www.afterthewhy.com.
Perfect. Very clear.
Thank you. So yeah, that's probably the best way for them to reach out. Otherwise, I'm not hard to find on social. They just look up Divesh Sareen and should be able to find me.
Fantastic. And the last question I have to you. So you've done so much so far. What is next? What can we wait? What's your next step?
A lot is the answer. My brain does not stop. Every day I question myself how I can live best today, and how much I can push and challenge myself. There are a few ideas, especially since just this event, a lot of people have reached out to me who want to be part of the next year's event. So making sure we do justice to next year now. How do we step it up and keep going down that path? So Migrants Life 2025, we've already started planning for it.
Fantastic.
Migrant Circle app is something that we are looking to start promoting now that it's out there in the market. There are other ideas as well, which is more in the leadership space, to be able to help people get more out of what they're trying to learn or do, and more in the migrant space, especially with the foundation. Now that we've established that, it's making a whole roadmap as to how we can add values in the life of migrants or people from different backgrounds. Those are the initiatives that we're working on at the moment, which hopefully we'll share some more.
Fantastic. It was a pleasure to have you here today.
It was a pleasure being on
Thank you.
your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.